You know, there's a lot of talk about remembrance today. Remembering those that lost their lives on 9/11 on this anniversary of that event. But there are other things I think we need to remember also that I don't think get as much attention. And the things we need to remember are the lessons we learned that day. Lessons like there are real heroes in the world. And they're not professional athletes or movie stars. They're firemen. They're policemen, they're paramedics, they're ordinary, everyday citizens that rush to the aid of people in need at great risk to themselves, many of whom lost their lives that day. Those are true heroes. There are also the people that went down to the recruitment office the day after and signed up on the dotted line, risking their lives, going overseas and fighting to try to hold those responsible for 9/11 accountable. Those are true heroes. We need to remember that. We also need to remember that we as Americans can come together. No matter how big our differences seem, when it matters, we're able to stand arm in arm and present a unified front because we are Americans. All of us, despite what we think about certain topics, we can overcome our differences when we have to. And we should. And we need to remember that it is possible. It may not seem like it these days, but it is possible. We also need to remember the lessons that there are evil people in this world. Evil exists. We need to remember that lesson. And no matter whether they wrap their evil up in nationalism, religion, or whatever, they're still evil. And ignoring them or coddling them in the sake of seeming politically correct doesn't help. It makes it worse. We also have to remember that evil people that have money and power will never be held accountable unless we start making them be accountable. That's evident by the fact that Saudi Arabia is still one of our friends and they never did anything wrong, that whole attitude towards Saudi Arabia, when they were primarily responsible for what happened. But because they have money and power, they've faced no repercussions for what they've done. We also have to remember the number one lesson of that day, the thing that I think it's most important that we learn, and that is that tragedy can never be used as an excuse for injustice. We can't allow politicians to manipulate fear and tragedy so that they can do things they shouldn't be doing, like waging wars based on personal vendettas or corporate profit, or worse yet, passing legislation at the expense of American citizens and their freedoms, like the Patriot Act. Not just the politicians that passed it. We don't need to remember just them. We need to remember those today that refuse to rescind it. That's the number one lesson, I think, from 9/11, is that we can't allow tragedy to justify injustice, ever. It's never the right thing to do. People always say, well, we had to do something. Well, no, you don't. It's better to do nothing than do something like that. So these are the lessons I think we need to remember today. And so often I think people don't remember these. They want to light candles and they want to be seen holding flowers and laying them somewhere, but they don't want to really remember the lessons we learned that day. So on this day of remembrance, yes, let's remember. But let's remember everything we need to remember, and especially, let's remember the right things.